We live in a world that glorifies momentum, don't we? Content calendars. I'm looking at mine right now. Launch dates, 5-year plans, social media visibility. The pressure to always be moving, to always be producing, always be posting, always have something to point to. If you're building something, if you have public presence whatsoever, then you know that pressure. It's constant. And I bought into it for a long time. And today, I want to talk to you about what happens when you finally stop doing that. Not because you broke, and not because you got scared, but because you finally respected the work enough just to slow down. I'm Tobias Neal, and this is Building What Matters. This is my face. For those of you who watching on YouTube, this is the first time I've ever recorded visuals to go along with the podcast. It's a little bit different. So I appreciate you giving that a try out if you want to. If you're somebody visual and wants to watch these on YouTube, you can, or you can just keep listening to it on the podcast, wherever you catch podcasts at. So what is going on in leadership culture right now is this, I think that there is, and I don't use this term loosely, but there is an addiction to motion. And, I work in the recovery community here, and I know what it looks like when someone can't stop, even when stopping would be the healthiest thing for them. And that's why I call it some sort of addiction. We're just addicted to this movement, to having this movement all the time. In nonprofit leadership, in recovery advocacy, in personal branding, whatever. The thing that keeps people moving when they should stop is usually one of a few things. Most likely pride or fear. The feeling that visibility equals credibility is so much pressure. That there's so much pressure that there's this idea that if we're not producing, we're falling behind. Or that our window might close, or that we might miss it. We might miss our opportunity to go viral, to be found out, to be accepted, to go and have and be and do all the things that we see with other people on their channels and their social media and the things that they're doing. I think that leaders that are addicted to motion like that just end up hurting themselves. They build cultures of urgency around them. Their teams start to mirror that pace. Decisions get made reactively instead of thoughtfully. And the people that they're trying to lead start to feel the pressure radiating from them. And they carry it themselves in their own bodies, in their own ways of living. So the way I see it, motion without alignment isn't leadership. I've had to hit pause a few times in my leadership life. I did this pretty recently, actually. For most of the winter, I kind of went into this little selfish hibernation mode where I purposely backed off doing a bunch of different things that I normally would be doing. And actually, even more recently than that, when I was building this podcast and I was moving towards launching Building What Matters, putting myself out there as a voice in this area this way, I had to kind of just step back. And I had to hit that pause point. And before you project burnout onto me or whatever, just let me be clear. It wasn't that whatsoever. And I wasn't running on empty. I am one of the more passionate, excitable, energetic people you'll know. Like when I'm passionate about something, I'm doing it. I'm involved in it. And definitely wasn't scared of what I'm building. And I wasn't avoiding the work whatsoever. What happened was this. I had been learning things, deep things about myself, about my own formation, about the way the past had shaped everything that I had been building. And at some point I realized I was accumulating wisdom faster than I had maybe been integrating it. So I had to kind of just stop and ask myself a hard question. What does it actually mean to apply this? Not to write about it, not to podcast about it, but to live it. That pause for me was respect. And the times that I've had to do that, those were respect for me. It was a respect for the growth, the respect for the journey, the respect for my past and for my present. I wasn't going to build something worth anything if I hadn't first become the person I was claiming to speak from. A project can be managed, but a calling has to be listened to. When something is a project, you can put down a timeline. You can set a launch date. You can let your pride hold you to that deadline. There's nothing wrong with projects. We need them. Organizations run on them. But a calling is different. A calling has its own timing. It moves on something deeper than a calendar. It asks you to be ready, not just to be on time. The cost of managing a calling, like a project, isn't that you're just going to miss deadlines and all that stuff. That cost is that you produce something that ends up being hollow, something that looks right, but doesn't carry the weight. And you can feel that difference. I've built things from pressure before. I've stood in front of people and delivered something that I wasn't yet living. I know what that costs. I don't want to do that again. Everything that I'm building right now just sits under the framework of these three things: leading aligned, living parallel, and building what matters. And I'm hoping that you can gain something from this for yourself as you consider what you're building in your own personal life and whether you should pause, whether you should move forward, if it's a calling or not. And those are hard things to parcel out. But I think these three things, this framework that I have led from, I think these things might really help you out a lot. Leading a line and living parallel and building what matters means that I can't build from a place of panic. I can't build something from a place of pressure. I can't build it just because there's a date that has been set out loud and now my ego wants to keep that. Leading with alignment, living parallel, building what matters, it requires you to be very curious and very open and listening to what's going on in here and be aware of what's going on around you and keeping a pace with that fits with what you're calling and what you're called to do and what you're building. If you're doing something opposite to that, that might not be alignment for you. I think if you're operating out of a place of misalignment, you're actually just performing. And the people that I want to reach have seen enough performance. And you certainly don't need any more of mine. Alignment for me means that what I say and what I live are pointing in the same direction. It means that before I ask anybody else to wrestle with something, I've wrestled with it myself. It means the work is coming from somewhere real. And you can sense that. You can sense the difference in that, can't you? I know I can. I can listen to people and watch what they're doing, and I know when it's real for them. And I know that realness because it inspires me to do the same. And I don't know about you, but I'm okay when a real leader sits down and says, "Hey, we have to pause this right now. I'm not sure I'm ready. I don't know if we're ready. I feel something is not aligned properly. That conversation that we had didn't quite sit well with me. Can we talk about it a little bit more?" Whatever the case is, I appreciate that when leaders do that. I appreciate the leaders in my own life and the people that I have had as examples in my own life. I appreciate them doing that with me and showing me that example. And so I'm sharing this, what I have done in pausing my work sometimes and redirecting myself so that I'm doing it out of alignment. I'm sharing that with you so that maybe you can get that same sense from me and not make the same mistakes that so many of us, and myself and so many of us, have made in acting out of misalignment. There's always going to be an urgency there to do the thing that you want to do. We get all fired up, stirred up, excitable when we want it, when we're moving towards a direction that is what we want to be doing. But that urgency is always going to be there. There's always going to be another reason to push ahead, another window, another moment that feels like it'll close. If we don't move now, that's just not the way things work. Yeah, there's a reason. There's a moment that'll come that there's a moment that will come that you'll know, and you'll know because you've taken the time to be ready yourself. The work that's worth doing will wait for you to be ready. For me, that being ready is what I call being in the pocket. It's being in that flow state and being in that realm of knowing when things are happening and when things are moving in the right direction and you are not fighting that or resisting that, you're staying curious, you're staying open, you're listening to you're listening to what's happening and you're seeing what's happening and you know your place in that. And doing that work inside. I know for me personally, that I would not be in the position that I'm in leading a nonprofit organization and being a trusted advocate and ally in the recovering community and being someone that people turn to want to talk to about deconstructing their faith, somebody that people ask if they can talk while I listen to them and being able to hold that space. If it wasn't for me taking that time for myself to do the healing work, to do the work that I needed to do. And sometimes doing that work meant putting a pause on everything else. If you're in a season of waiting, if you're wrestling, if you're reworking things right now, I want you to hear this. You're not behind. You're not going to fall behind. You're not missing your opportunity. You are building yourself to be ready to do the thing that you're called to do. And that is far more important than trying to take advantage of every little thing that comes your way, because that might be the thing that works for you. What works, what brings success is you being right in here and then projecting that out to others. You're not falling behind. You're not failing. You're not losing ground. You're not staying put while everybody else is moving forward. You're being real. And real is where anything worth building has to begin. The pause is not a problem. The pause is not a problem. The pause is often the most honest thing you can do. It's where you stop performing readiness and you start developing it. And if you're not ready in here, you have no way to detect what is out of alignment here or here or here. You have no way of knowing if you're living parallel to your values because you're unsure inside. And you end up building something that in the end crumbles. And we don't want to do that. We want to build what matters. So before your next push, I want you to sit with this one question. Is what I'm about to build coming from a place of alignment, or is it coming from a place of urgency? Now, you don't have to answer that question out loud, but sit with it long enough to know the difference. What's coming for you isn't just another project. That's why it won't be rushed. That's why it keeps asking more of you than the timeline ever could. Because what you're getting ready to do is taking what's in here and putting it out there. And that might just require you hitting the pause. You're not behind. You're being real. And real is exactly where you need to be. If this landed for you today, the first thing that I want you to do, if you're watching this on YouTube, I would love for you to hit the like button on this video, hit the subscribe button, and follow us that way. I know that sounds kind of small, but every subscribe, every like, all those things matter. They help put this content in front of the right people. And I know that's something that you want to be a part of. And that's how this grows. It's not through ads, it's through you and me doing this type of thing. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you catch your podcast at, I'd love for you to share this episode with somebody. If you want, that's fine. Like if you're the mass poster and you say, hey, go listen to this and you let all your people know, that's fine. But really, I think this kind of message is from person to person. Someone you know who's building something, someone you know who's leading something, healing something, and could use a voice like this one in their ears just to tell them the truth. And that's how building what matters finds the people that it's meant to find. And that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to find my people, and so my people find me. I'd also add that if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can head over to my Substack, and you can check out the articles there. I usually write about the things that we talk about on the podcast every week. there first, and then take pieces of them or take a more personal element of that or a different direction from those articles and share that with you here on the Building What Matters podcast. You can find me over there at Tobias Neal 83.substack.com. If you do so, you can subscribe, and then the podcast notifications every time a podcast airs or a new article is written will come right to your email, and you can actually read it or watch it right from there. You don't even have to have the Substack app, although you're more than welcome to get that and use that. But basically, I just kind of want to say that the conversation doesn't stop with just this episode, right? Last thing I want to leave you with is this. If you lead a recovering community, or you're building one, or you're somewhere in the middle trying to figure it out, I want to invite you to something. I want to invite you to the Building What Matters leadership cohort. The cohort is free. It's virtual for now. And it's just an opportunity for new leaders who are starting to build something that matters, to connect, network, share resources, share ideas, and put themselves out there to gain some benefit from the things that I'm sharing here, and the things that other people will share with them in that process. Some of you are at different points in this journey, and I think it would be really helpful to put everybody together. And I'll be honest with you, this comes as a passion of mine because as a leader, I want to invest in leaders. I want to see what I know and have experienced be replicated in others, and I'm still learning and growing. And so for me, it's a great thing. But really, one of the things that I see in the recovering community is that the recovering community is at its best when it's at this grassroots level where it is a community of people doing the work. And what I'm always fearful of is that when things become institutionalized, when they become popularized or secularized, or however you want to say it, they can lose some of that. And I want to make sure that these people who are working their asses off to build these recovering communities don't lose the heart for the heart of the work that they do. And so I formed the leadership cohort. It's going to be launching soon, and I can't wait to connect with those leaders and hopefully inspire them and selfishly be inspired by them. And I want to invite you to that. If it's you and you're interested in that, the link will be in the show notes. You can check it out there. Or if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be down in the description below, so you can come find us that way. Hey, for me, the bitter is behind me. The better is what I'm standing on as I move forward and building what matters. Thank you so much for being here today of the Building What Matters podcast. Stay in the pocket, and I'll see you in the next episode.